What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of the Unlockables podcast, the story of video games, the people who play them, and the memories made along the way. As always, I am your host, Eric, and I appreciate you tuning in this week, each and every week, wherever, whenever in time and space you might be located. It means a lot that you choose to spend a little bit of your valuable time listening to the show. But not going to get into the emotions or dramatics because I have two very special guests on the show today, continuing the rich tradition of having incredible dynamic duos on the Unlockables podcast. Today, I am very honored to welcome to the show Nick and Will from Friday Night Gamecast. Guys, how you doing today?
Oh, doing great. It's definitely a pleasure to be on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's so awesome. I'm so honored to be on here, Eric. I am a huge fan of your show. Everybody that has been on are just incredible podcasters. You're an incredible podcaster, man. And I'm super excited to be here, man. So thank you so much for having us.
I'm gonna have to leave the room for like a minute because I do not take compliments well. But no, thank you guys. You honor me by coming on the show and talking about this stuff. I really appreciate it. Yeah, like you said, our circle of podcast friends, we kind of just all kind of interact with each other. Spectacular people, and
it's nice, isn't it?
It really is, because you always hear that people on the internet are just the worst, and I've met so many wonderful people on the internet, and like some bad people, but we don't talk about them.
No, we don't talk about them. No, we don't bring them up.
And block them and move on
at all.
Make that Twitter block button work, baby. Let's go. Yeah. So before we dive into the show, we're going to talk a little bit about your guys' show and your guys' experience with games throughout your life. But I always like to just kind of break the ice, ask, what have you guys been playing lately?
So recently myself, I've been working my way through Far Cry 5. I just finished Guardians of the Galaxy, so I've been gushing about that the last couple of shows. It was a blast. I had a great time with Guardians. I was like, first picking it up, I was a little wary because I played, honestly, way too much of the Marvel Avengers game that they put out a while ago. And I was like,
yeah, you did.
I'm having a blast because the fighting is fun, but everything else is very, very bad. So when they announced Guardians of the Galaxy, it kind of came out of nowhere. And I had no hopes. It was, the bar was under the floor. So I was like, I'm not going to pick it up. I'm not going to worry about it. As people played it, they talked about how great it was. And one of my good friends, Shady, got a chance to play it before I did. And he was gushing about it. And we have really similar tastes. So when I saw it was on Game Pass, boom, boom, best deal in gaming, I was like, I got to do it. I got to try it out. And I pretty much went straight through it. It took me a little bit longer than I wanted just because life. But I had a blast the entire time. And wrapping it up, it was a really nice, satisfying ending.
Absolutely. I kind of came in at the same as you. I played it last year, and I think we saw it during E3 of last year's when they first debuted it. And then they're like, oh yeah, it's going to be out in November. And at that time I was just like, I don't know if it was like Marvel fatigue or what. I was just like, I'm not interested in this at all. And I think it had a lot going against it too, because obviously the Guardians are more recognizable in their on-screen, movie iteration of people who play them. But I did pick it up out of curiosity, and I was genuinely surprised at how much I liked and identified with the characters and how fun the game was overall. The writing too, absolutely spectacular.
Yes, writing was awesome. So everybody clicked so well too. Like you said, it took a second to kind of get past like store brand, Groot, store brand, Gamora, store brand, Star-Lord, but
getting away from the MCU actors.
Exactly. Once I got a little bit past the dollar store versions of them, I was like, this is actually very compelling. The characters are great. And Rocket was just great all around. From A to Z, I loved interacting with Rocket.
I loved Rocket's character design, just from what I've seen of him, like in the little suit that he has. It's awesome.
Yeah, and he's got like the little like beard thing going on too. Yeah. It's really very cool. Nick, did you get a chance to play that yet, or?
I have played probably about 2 to 3 hours of it at the very beginning, and I was like, hey, this actually is kind of deep. And I got to the point where I realized there was a lot of story. They did a lot of exposition dumps, and it was really, really cool. I was like, I'm going to come back to you later because I got other things on the fire right now that's
understandable. Will, I got to ask you, how many times did you close that damn fridge on the ship?
Man, every single time I had the chance to, I closed it. And I love the fact that characters later on in the story would comment, you really like closing that fridge.
It's like, well, if you wouldn't keep leaving it open, it's like, it makes my OCD brain tingle.
That's exactly what I felt. I'm like, do I have OCD? Because I just continuously gravitate towards this fridge.
They did that to you on purpose.
I'm just like, I wouldn't like this fridge being open in my house. So this is just unacceptable. Like, absolutely. I remember they put out a stat that said like the close-have-been fridge, like when they reached like 10 million fridges closed or something like that. And I'm like, they would put an in-game counter on that so they can see the stats of, just to see how obsessed people are with that. But
I'm like, that's kind of low. I don't know. We got to pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
I got to get back in and close that fridge more, man. For sure. So Nick, have you been playing anything?
I have. If anybody has been following me on Twitch, I have been slowly yet surely working my way through BioShock Remastered.
Ooh, there you
what
go.
a good game. I mean, it's a good game. Will was giving me grief for it earlier this morning because on Twitch I was streaming it last night with the folks that like jumped in my chat, and I was like, oh man, this game it's showing its age. I'm struggling with like just how annoying how many times I have to hack things and how many like turrets and bots are, and kind of just like the old school, like very, very beginning era of like 360 Xbox, edition of like the way that they designed their enemy AI and like the level design and everything. I was just like, there's been so much improvement since then. But at the same time, like you have to say that like Ken Levine really nailed his vision. Like I have to admit, like the visuals in this game, completely flawless. Like it is so beautiful. They nailed everything they wanted to hit with this kind of like golden age of American imperialism, combined with like all of this like rhetoric talking is a huge commentary on capitalism and corporatism and everything that's involved with it. And it is super beautiful from top to bottom. And I also, I was telling Will about this earlier, is that like I was having a little issue with like the weapons, but at the end of the day, I finally found the crossbow. And I was like, oh, this was the weapon. This was the one that we were meant to get in this game. This is the one that we were supposed to. I was like, why didn't they just give it to us all along? He was like, well, you can't give him the best gun in the game. And I was like, Dead Space did that.
Dead Space did it.
Yeah, right.
It can't be Dead Space,
You know what I mean?
the GOAT.
That's true. But I'm having a pretty good time with it. I'm hoping potentially I might finish it on stream today.
Cool.
I'm in Hephaestus right now, so I'm getting very close to Andrew Ryan and seeing where that's going to shake out, how he is interacting with Frank Fontaine, what's going on with that whole deal. So very interested to kind of figure that out. But I've been doing that. And I have also been doing a couple of other games on the side. I've been playing a little bit of Knockout City with a friend of ours, Logan,
nice.
Which is really fun, kind of just a mindless running around, playing a little bit of dodgeball. But one of my recent favorites that I started was Power Wash Simulator, man.
Oh, baby.
Yes, the classic.
Here we go.
Oh, man, it is so good. It is so good. I spent mindless hours. Like I started streaming and I was like, oh, I'm going to do like a quick 45, 30-minute stream. And I was on there for like 2.5 hours just cleaning stuff. It was crazy. I was like, I got to do this again. So yeah, now we've convinced Will to jump in and do some co-op with us.
I didn't even know it had co-op.
Dope.
I was like, oh, there's going to be two people just spraying down a dirty van. I'm like, I can do this in real life. Oh no.
I asked my buddies to come over and be like, hey, you want to power wash my house with me all the time? And they tell me no. So I mean,
But how about virtually?
Exactly. It's something,
exactly.
Yeah, something about those types of games are just so satisfying, man. I haven't played that one yet, but my wife likes one. It's a little more of a lower end one called House Flipper. And it's basically you just like repair homes to like put them on the market and sell them.
Hey.
Interesting.
Yeah,
right.
it's I hate
That
working
sounds
on
like
my
a
own.
vibe.
Yeah, it really is. I hate working and doing stuff on my own house, but if it's a virtual house, I'm all for it. That's
All
that's
about
what
it. All about it. We don't have to actually use real money to pay for that stuff that you need to do.
Nice.
But yeah, I've been doing that. And then like lastly, I have been also working my way through the Scarlet Blaze route in Fire Emblem Three Hopes. So I've been working my way through that, which is really, really fun. I know I really enjoy the conversation that you had with Colby from the Switch It Up podcast on here about that game, and everybody else's conversation about the game is super fun. So I'm enjoying it a lot right now.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of those Muso style games. I played all the earlier Dynasty Warriors games on the PS2 and stuff. Those dude. Whenever you have a bad day at work, just come home and just, mash up some dudes. Oh, it feels great.
Are they good? Like, is there anything beyond like kind of just the mindless like mob slaying to those games?
No, I'm about to say is like, I won't say they're good, but they're
pretty
fun.
much it. Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
It's never going to be like a 10 out of 10 game of the year, but man, they've made like 10 of them now and they keep going. So
very cathartic. Cathartic is the word I'd use for
Absolutely.
those games for sure.
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking to pick up Three Hopes as well. I'm just playing it a little bit later. As for me, not much of an update on what I've been playing. Doing Kingdom Hearts for my Kingdom Hearts stuff.
Awesome.
And that's pretty much it, really. I did pick up and start to dive a little bit into Xenoblade Chronicles 3. That just came out recently. So,
it's Xenoblade Chronicle Day today, right?
It was yesterday.
It was yesterday. Okay, got it. Yeah.
So yeah, I was a little on the fence about it because 2 was good. It's just very. I always say like it's very Japanese, not to be like offensive or anything, but it's very Japanese, and I was.
We
like,
all know what that means.
Yeah, we get it.
I don't know if I need another one of these, but the reviews and the conversation on it seem to be really good. So I'm like, I'll pick it up, check it out. So I'll probably have more info on that 8 months down the road when I finally finish it, because I've heard it's a hefty boy. So,
Ooh, yeah.
So like you said, Japanese, so it's gonna be a while.
yeah, absolutely, lots of side stuff. So one exceedingly Japanese thing already happened, but I won't elaborate on that. But I was just kind of like rolled my eyes. I'm like, okay, here we go, getting into this early, setting the tone. Sure. So, no, that's cool. Thank you guys. Appreciate you sharing with what you guys are playing. But I think it's time to dive into the meat, and let's start talking about you guys and the show you do. So guys, to start off, Nick, Will, you guys host the Friday Night Gamecast, which is a fantastic show about pretty much everything gaming related. You guys have covered a pretty wide variety of topics already on the show. News to industry topics to current games, along with other stuff thrown in the way there. I want to just know a little bit about the show's origins. How did that come about? And I especially kind of want to know the epic origins of Nick and Will as well.
I'll kind of bring us in as far as how we started together and then work our way slowly to, of course, the show's origins themselves. It all started around 2020, the land of COVID. Yeah, exactly. It's like as these things tend to do, that's right? Yeah. So my wife started a new job and she was working at a bank. She ended up meeting a couple of people there and she was like, oh, this guy, Nick, you might be interested in meeting him. He's got some pretty similar interests. I play video games and anime and all the stuff. And of course, I don't know how anyone else feels, but your wife, your significant other tries to pair you up with somebody. You're like, oh, what kind of a loser?
Here we go.
What kind of a dork is she bringing in here? Just because I play games and anime doesn't mean I want to talk to every single person that does. And then, sure enough, meet the guy, and he was actually very, very cool. So it was fantastic. We hang out. We had like at least to me, I can let him chime in if for some reason it wasn't at the start, but felt like a pretty instant bond. He's like, no, I hated him off rip, but.
No, like, this turned into the Jerry Springer show pretty fast.
But it was such a good meeting. Yeah, it was such a good meeting. We showed up at a local brewery, and it was super hot outside. William showed up in this awesome LGBT ally tank top. My man, he's known for his tank tops, by the way. I don't know if y'all have figured it out by now, but he's the tank master here. But we just started started talking, and then both of our partners at the time, they were enjoying what the slushies, the wine slushies they had there at the time, and so they were talking amongst themselves, and we kind of got to chatting it up, and then next thing we know, it's 5 hours later, and we're all kind of drunk a little bit, but yeah, that was kind of our meeting. And it was super fun.
So it's just that's just like our consistent thing is that whenever me and Nick get together, it's video games, anime, it's always having a good time, very effortless conversation and talking. So we did that for I would say the better part of 2 years, because we're about halfway through 2022 now. And we were just hanging out, vibing, always talking about games and related news. We always had great conversation. It wasn't just like, what are you playing? But we try to get a little in-depth, just with him, one-on-one talking. And after a while, Nick was like, you know what, Will? I've been doing a little bit of Twitch streaming. I've been thinking about podcasting. How would you like to come on and be a co-host with this podcast thing? And I'm always down for a new adventure. So I was just like, yeah, man, let's do it. Go ahead and get it started up. And that was the origins of Friday Night Gamecast.
Oh, that's incredible, guys. Yeah, and yeah, sometimes the partners pick good, and then it's always super easier to bond over stuff when drinks are involved. Absolutely,
for sure.
Yeah. Hearing you talk about those wine slushies, I was like, ooh, it's hot today. One of those would really
do it. Open up the blender, Eric.
Dude, hit the spot right now. Hold on, just let me make some drinks right here. Yeah. No, that's super cool. To follow up that question, I just got to ask, because I heard about you guys through just the circle of podcast friends we had, and somebody mentioned your show. It might have even been Morgan Remington. Shout out to Intergalactic Pinecone. And I listened to the show, the first episode, and normally based on my past experiences, and like if you go back and listen to my past shows, I never tell anybody to listen to my first episodes. But from the get-go, out of the gate, your guys' stuff was like really well done, very highly produced. Very, very impressed with it. It's a great quality show. So I wanted to ask, had you guys had any kind of prior experience doing anything like this before Friday Night Gamecast?
Yep, definitely love to hear that. So overall, as far as the production, Nick is the guy. All right, I'm telling you right now, when it comes to the After Effects, people talk about like, hearing me speak, my silky smooth voice, and just the overall quality of the actual content itself. Nick is really the brainchild behind all that. So I got to throw it to this guy because he is what makes Friday Night Gamecast pop.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's one of those where I personally have been a fan of podcasts for a long time. And and we were talking about this earlier, but Will and I had just such effortless, good conversations about games and the game industry. And I'll always say this, that some of the best conversations that we've ever had, I haven't caught on camera because they just were natural. It was like, Will pops up at my house. He was like, we're about to work out. He was like, did you hear about what Xbox just did? And then we just go on and it's like an hour later. And I'm like, oh my God, we have to start putting these behind microphones.
You just need a reality TV like film crew follow you all around 24/7.
Exactly. We needed a videographer for sure. And so we kind of started from there. I of course, like I said, have been a fan of different podcasts for a long time. I think you've had other guests on here that, we're a fan of a lot of the mainstream ones. You got your IGN Beyonds, your Kind of Funnies, your Mid Max with Ben Hansen. All of those folks are incredible and they do such a good job. But I look at them and I'm like, they're not doing anything. I mean, yes, they all probably went to school for journalism. They all probably have been working with editors for a long time. They have much more technical knowledge than we do. But I was like, they're really not doing anything in front of the camera, in front of the microphones that we don't have, that we can't do. And I was like, why can't we just replicate that and then just market that to an audience that wants to hear our content in an effective way? And I think that I kind of just approached it from that standpoint. I made sure that we had the best equipment that, I could get a hold of, or that we could both, try and make work out for the time. And it was just something that really was a flash in the pan. And I'm really happy that it worked out. I love the folks that we've worked with in terms of like doing the art and doing the music for the show. I'm definitely going to use like Kodo. He's done the music and he worked with Liv and Frui for Between Two Gamers on a lot of their content.
Oh,
too.
That's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I found him through them, and that was just he was great to work with. He was super fast, quick. He gave me a bunch of samples to work with, so I'm gonna have to go back and maybe ask for some more. We're thinking about maybe updating the music every season or so and having some new stuff for folks to look forward to. But yeah, some ideas in the pan. But that's kind of like the idea behind it. We're in terms of like the things that we wanted to do and the things that we want to cover. We're covering it from a perspective of a video game fan. And that's really how we wanted to approach it overall.
I think that's definitely a great approach that works. Because, yeah, like you said, sure, those bigger shows have the budget and have things. But really what comes along with having a highly produced like professional show is you're kind of locked into whatever said people want you to talk about. It's like, hey, we have to talk about this industry stuff. We have to talk about this because this is what's happening. This is what the people want. Whereas, I think the approaching it from like the everyman kind of point is like every given week you can just be like, yeah, let's talk about this week because nobody's going to tell us what we need to talk about. And that really is the best part. So that's incredible. I wanted to ask, you guys have done, it's been about 12 or 13 episodes now, correct?
We just finished up number 12.
Yeah, we just finished number 12. Mm-hmm.
It flies, doesn't it?
Oh my God. I was like, we crossed over episode 10 and I was like, what? Like we didn't even celebrate it. We didn't even commemorate the milestone. I was like, how did this happen? So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your short amount of time podcasting here, I know I've talked about on my show before how doing 2 shows before this and now doing this show and talking to a bunch of different people, my views on games and the things that I think about across all video game topics have kind of shifted as talking to other people. Have you guys encountered anything in the podcast yet where like you've been talking with people or, doing the show or doing your research where you were like, oh, like I had this opinion and I thought this was really good, but now like my opinion is kind of shifted or changed, or you see things kind of differently now that you're kind of in the content creation game?
Will, do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm trying to think. I think maybe, and it's very similar to something that happened to me when I went to college and I took like a film studies class, or when I had like a short-lived idea of maybe starting in the games industry and really started diving in deep, where you see somebody put out work, you see somebody put out content, And it's very easy to be like, okay, well, like, no, this looks pretty simple. This looks pretty hard. But that really behind the scenes, the editing, the mixing, making sure that everybody kind of looks good if you have video as well. That stuff, at least to me, does not come very easy, and it looks pretty difficult just watching it in practice. So being able to, interact with some of the folks that are in the collective right now for the podcast scene, going and listening to the finished products after they drop them out and just seeing that kind of creation from step by step has given me a great appreciation for the overall content in the art form when it comes to podcasting. So it's always nice seeing like yourself, seeing Dave just putting in excellent work. You already mentioned Morgan before, Intergalactic Podcast. So it's great just seeing everybody kind of start from A to Z, getting that finished product at the end, and then being like, wow, man, it was awesome just watching them put all the pieces together and put out this great episode.
Yeah, in terms of like the changing of my mind aspect, it's hard to say that like folks in the content creation have changed my mind. I mean, our whole goal with this show is to make it as collaborative as possible. We want to be on every show, everyone else's show. We want to have everyone on our show too, just because it like our content becomes richer when you do that. Yep. And it, exactly like you're saying, you kind of can see things from different perspectives that you might not have seen before. I think I personally have always been, I'm such a fan of games that any new game or any games that come out or any genre, I look at it as like, you can do no harm in terms of like, I even if it's not for me, I recognize that there is a community of people out there who are just diehard fans of that game. And so I always I never try to like put anyone down for enjoying things like Rocket League or Fortnite or something like that, because Battle Royale, it has its place, it has its market, it has its community of people who can make it very fun and very enjoyable. I think like my personal perception of games and something that I'm trying to correct over time is that like I am such a shiny, like I am always looking for the best and the brightest and the newest, the best graphics, the best frame rate performance, anything that's out there. And I think like a lot of the times I forget older games, and something that this wonderful man that's on the show with me right now has done. And he has hit home that I have missed a lot of stuff in my backlog. And I know there's too many games out there. I can't cover everything, but there are like a greatest hits of games that are from like the PS1, PS2 era, or, 360 stuff that I need to go back and really dig into and cover. And that's something that I'm trying to like change my thinking on, in terms of just because it doesn't look like graphically impressive doesn't mean that it's going to be a fantastic experience and an incredible game. And so like, for example, BioShock, I'm trying to work through my biases with that. I'm going to go back to the Silent Hill HD collection and play 1 and 2 and see how I enjoy that, because like I need to educate myself more on Kojima, and I want to learn more about him and, how he fits into the industry and his thought process on like game creation. So I think that's something that I've been working on.
And RE4. Don't forget RE4.
I won't forget RE4. I won't forget it. I'm not sick.
We hype up Dead Space so much. I was like, you have to play the grandfather.
I can't buy all the games, William.
Well, I mean, we got the RE4 remake coming, so I mean,
that's what I said.
Don't say that.
That's what I said, Eric.
Don't give him
that.
That's
what I was like. Why am I going to go back and play the shitty fucking Xbox 360 game?
See, you see, Eric. You see, he needs to learn respect.
I think there is something to be said for definitely. I think RE4 needs to be played, the original, for sure. But no, I do like that you said that, because I've kind of been taking that approach too, where it's like, I always say on the show that a game that I might hate might be somebody's favorite game of all time, and I try not to. As much as I like poke fun at like Fortnite and the modern gaming industry machine. My favorite game is a game where Donald Duck is a wizard. So it's like, I don't have any like to stand up to judge people for the games that they like, for sure.
To be fair, it's a great game.
Thank you. Oh, I love it. Validation feels so good. But yeah, and me too. I've been trying to, ever since starting the show, make a conscious effort to go back. I've played 4 games this year that were pre-2000, and that's been something that I didn't always have the luxury of doing. I've made an effort to do. I think especially nowadays too, where we're running into this thing where these games are getting harder to be able to play them as the years go on, because just the hardware is getting older, and with the hardware gets older and discs get scarcer, like it's harder to play them, especially if the developers, publishers don't make them available to be able to be played, because they seem to treat them as a disposable commodity, even though it's not. But going off on a tangent, but yeah, I kind of get the same things from there. So
video game preservation is so important.
Very important.
And we talked a little bit about it when we were talking about video game price points. And it's just, I am dismayed. And Kevin and Ethan from Project X Talk had a really incredible conversation just recently on one of their more recent episodes about kind of like the movement from physical hardware to digital hardware and the delisting of games and where that's taking us forward in the future. And Will and I have talked about it on the show and about how like exactly like, Kingdom Hearts, like you unless you have a physical copy, you cannot find the original source code for that first game. It's because Square Enix, they want you to buy the remaster, which is just, it's insane to me that like, you can't go back and you can't find that original source file unless you find a copy of the game, or you get into situations like with the GameCube now. And this is kind of the pandemic's fault or Twitch's fault, but like, people have really gravitated to those older retro games, the N64s, the GameCubes. And then now you go to like a used bookstore and you see a Mario Kart Double Dash that's in the glass case for $160. Could you imagine that? Could you like go back in time and realize that you're looking at, like, I am so dismayed thinking of all the GameCube games that I traded in so I could get my Xbox 360, and I'm just like, yeah, GameStop really, like, I didn't have the foresight and I didn't have parents who were gamers to say, hey man, like maybe you should think about that before you trade it in. Maybe you should just save up and wait until later. But what can you do?
Now it's like you hoard everything. It's like, I don't get rid of anything now because anything could be valuable at some point in the future.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then my wife's like, you got to get rid of this stuff because the room's overflowing. Be like, no, it could be worth money one day.
It could be worth money.
I still got Halo 2 in the steelbook. I'm like, I'm never getting rid of this.
There's no such thing as aesthetics when you're in a relationship with a gamer.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I'm not putting money in the stock market. I'm putting money in video games, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.
Ride the gravy train. That's awesome. No, that's awesome. So when you have people come and listen to the show, is there a specific thing or message or a theme that you want them to take away from listening to your show? Something that if someone comes to you and says, hey, like, I like this about the show, you feel like you accomplished what you wanted to by putting the show out?
Yeah, I think the main thing I want people to take away from is, we're really starting to get this kind of sense of community, and we're getting a lot of new folks coming in, which we really appreciate. So for me, I've always been more attracted to the podcast where you can listen to them and you feel like you're kind of a part of the conversation. It's like you're listening in on old friends hanging out, and maybe you're there kind of chilling as well. I've had too many situations where people are having a conversation on a podcast and I'm chiming in like they can hear me or something. I'm like, oh, I love that game too. It's fantastic. So I think for me,
I love it
that's
when
really
people on Twitter do that. They listen to our show and then they're like, wait, you said this. You know what I mean? That's one of my favorite things, even if it's like slightly negative. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Any amount of, the community interaction is really what we're looking for. So for me, somebody walking away feeling like, maybe we touched on a game or a situation that they really like, that they had the chance to kind of listen and sit down and really feel a part of the conversation, because we'll throw that out all the time too. We'll say, hey, we said something, we're not 100% sure, hit us up in the comments, hit us up on Twitter if we're wrong. Because like Nick was saying, even if it's something that's like negative or you're correcting us, we want to make sure that, you're hearing us and then kind of vice versa. And we're really just keeping it nice and copacetic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that like for me too, is that something that has been a personal like value of mine and a value that I want to instill into the show is that video games are inherently an intersectional experience. And I want our content and show to have as many different diverse creators and podcasters and people that come on and talk to us. Unfortunately, the way that it stands now, a lot of the space is filled with, white guys. And I mean, of course, obviously, I have Will that's on the show and he's fantastic. But we also want to include a lot of, female and other, non-binary people on the show. We want people from every walk of life to come in and be able to talk. So I can have someone on Twitter or wherever come through and say, hey, I listened to your show. I really appreciated that you had like this content creator on specifically because I value them or I value their perspective. And so that's not just, I recognize that just my perspective and my life experience is not enough to inform our audience. And I want to bring enough people on that so they feel like they have a more wholesome and holistic view of the video game industry as a whole. So that's something that's definitely cool. Yeah, that I want to make sure that happens eventually.
I think it definitely does because, whenever you guys put out an episode, there's conversation pretty much immediately. And I try to chime in too as best I can whenever I'm not on social media burnout and I'm just like, I cannot take the internet anymore today. But I think that is really important, especially in, our kind of hobby, something that is as widely universal as video games. A lot of times the loudest, most obnoxious people give us a bad rap. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really good that we've kind of found this community of people that do make podcasts and sometimes don't. Sometimes people that just listen, to kind of have these conversations that we want to have without having people come in and just start screaming over things that are stupid or things that, you're like, why does it matter that they redesigned Tess from The Last of Us and she's not as young looking as she used to be? Or why does it matter that
so much toxicity over
that?
Yeah,
just the toxicity in general. And that's one thing that I've really loved about kind of our cross-sectional community that we're all part of, is that we're able to have these conversations. And while like I've seen it that people don't always agree, like that we're pretty respectful about it. And we pretty much respect, be like, hey, like I recognize you say this. And like I've had, people just be like, tell me, it's like, I don't think I could ever play Kingdom Hearts. And I'm like, that's fine. Like you respect my opinion. Like you don't have to like all the same games that I do. Whereas like other people in the industry or community, on the fringes of it, or the loud people are like, oh, you don't like this thing? Well, that's a personal attack on me, and now I must destroy you, which is kind of how, is kind of how like all of society has become about everything lately, and it's really
become
kind of
a lot like that. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So, no, I'm really glad that you hit on that, and I think it's been great for all of us to be able to have these conversations that I feel like do matter, because I think the conversations that do matter, and the only way we change the community is from the inside out. And hopefully as we grow this thing together, we're able to have more respectful conversations, and we just weed out the bad weeds.
Yeah, exactly. I think like I'm a little bit known for starting fights on Twitter. Like I like to like drop stuff in the pan and see like what sticks, but it's coming from a place of like goodness, and like I'm just being cheeky. You're never gonna find me on any social media platform that's purposefully out to try and hurt someone or make them feel bad or anything like that. So I just like causing a ruckus. That's just me.
Well, and sometimes too, like when you do cause a ruckus and when your views get challenged, like that's the only way you can grow as like a person too. It's like, and it teaches you how to like deal with somebody that you don't necessarily like, you've never been challenged before. It's very easy to stay in your echo chamber and just have opinions that are like the same as yours and get your feelings validated. But like stepping out of there and like having even if it's just about video games, having your opinions challenged or just having a different point of view, I think is important for personal growth. Definitely. So
exactly.
That's incredible. Do you guys have, I know you haven't been doing it terribly long, but do you guys, and I'm super psyched that I was able to get you guys on so early in the career, so that way this time next year we can have like a whole retrospective. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. What are some of your guys' favorite experiences kind of doing the show so far?
I think for me so far, and we talked about it a little bit, but really just making sure that we're getting on as many people, getting the chance to, come on shows like this, which is once again fantastic to be here and just be able to kind of experience it with you. I know you don't take the compliments,
I'm gonna have to leave the room for a second. I'm sorry.
Hold on.
I'm so uncomfortable.
But that's just the big thing. It's being able to really get amongst this group of folks that are all very like-minded, like as we mentioned just right now, all very respectful of each other. And I feel like every time I get a chance to talk to somebody new, it's pretty effortless. Like I talked about Nick before, me and him having that effortless talk, but consistently it'll be, we get together with a new person on the podcast, we bring them on, we go on their show, and it's like hour 30, hour 40-minute conversation. And then I look up, I'm like, what? It's done? No, but we have so much more to talk about. Like,
we go for 2 more hours.
So we could just go crazy with it. So I think we're just really getting the chance to meet people. And kind of, as I said with mine too, I love listening to a podcast and feeling like I'm involved, feeling like I'm a part of their community or their duo. So being able to bring someone on and get that exact feeling without me talking to myself has always been a blast.
Yeah, it's so fun. I mean, exactly kind of just mirroring what Will said, being able to interact with folks. And we talked about it earlier too. It's just we have such a tight-knit, cool community of people who like are very, very level-headed, and they all have their different opinions about different genres or games in general. But everybody is just super welcoming and inviting to each other. And that was honestly one of my biggest fears of doing podcasting and content creation, was the fact that they're like, oh, like I don't want to put out anything that's not perfect, and like what if I put something out and people are going to be like, who is this kid, what are these jokers doing, why are they doing this? Yeah, like, and so that's kind of been something that I've really had to like work through, and that not everything is going to be perfect, not everything is going to be good. But like meeting like Nave and Phil from the Game Together podcast, like they're just such cool people. And I love like, not only, it's like I listen to everybody, almost everybody that's in the community. I try to do as much research as I could before we really started this project. And it's like listening to them, listening to the Between Two Gamers, I like became like a fanboy of their shows because I was just like, oh, I agree with that. But I didn't feel like the agency to like reach out and be like, hey, I listened to that episode. That was really cool. But now like we're on their show and it's like legitimately like you guys are, we're all just like a bunch of superstars and we just feel super grateful to kind of be featured on each other's content and share ideas and all that stuff. So yeah, I feel like that's probably my favorite experience thus far.
Nick, that was inspirational, man. I feel like I can go run through a wall now. That's
Hey.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, really, it is. And it's to the point where, when I kind of put out my show too, the first time I put out Side Questing podcast before I did this one. And I was putting it out there and like I didn't have any followers. I didn't know anybody. I was just kind of like, oh, whatever. And then Keith from Main Quest comes along and is just like, hey, I like your show. And then kind of just drags me into this like storm of all these other people that listen to like everyone else's shows. And and from then on, I was just kind of like, oh, well, this is the best way to do this is to just like tell somebody, hey, I listened to your show and I really liked it. And then to start a conversation with them. So, pretty much the way I do it now is like whenever and it was kind of the same with you guys. Whenever I saw somebody's show being talked about, I listened to it and then I shouted out and then I just pretty much like forced my friendship upon you.
Hey.
And then, and then that's how that happens. So
I feel like that's like you say you forced it upon us, but that's like the organic nature of like relationships we form on Twitter and stuff. Now, Eric, I hope you don't mind if I ask you a question, but this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. I know for a fact now, Will, he took public speaking in college, and you are so well spoken. And I know that I've listened to other episodes, and you said that your background is in marketing.
Yes.
Would you say that your education has really informed your ability to podcast and be in this space?
I would say specifically, probably my speaking is probably what it affected the most. Okay. Even though I don't consider myself like a top tier speaker, I still do a lot of ums and likes and say things as like fillers. My brain processes what I want to say. Mm-hmm. But I did take probably 10 to 15 like speaking related classes like throughout my education, especially in business school at the University of Illinois, Chicago Business School, where it was like half of all of my homework was like presentations and like presenting stuff to people. So I do think that kind of helped me maybe specifically in my solo podcasting journey here, because I did side questing with my friend Tom and now I'm doing this by myself, where it was just kind of those hours of prep in my dorm room by myself, talking to myself and going through what I was going to say. Yeah. Maybe kind of got me comfortable with kind of speaking to myself and doing things solo. So I do think definitely there is I can see a parallel there but at that time I didn't know that I wanted to do like podcasting or anything. I kind of wanted to, and that was the big era of like the Call of Duty YouTubers and putting up, crazy videos and doing like commentaries over them and stuff. And so like when I was younger, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I want to do that. And I never did that. And then I streamed for a little while, and streaming is kind of the same thing. If you have 0 people watching you stream, you just talk to yourself to practice.
Exactly.
And so
I'm so bad at that.
Yeah. If you ever have a stream where it's just like nobody shows up, just practice. And that's kind of what I did. So I definitely think that, my journey, my education did kind of help me with that, even though at the time I had no idea I wanted to do something like that. And I think anybody that's going through like an education journey and getting education, believe me, like public speaking is terrifying. I still hate it. It's the scariest thing. But it's a skill that you can really utilize in so many different facets of life that you just step up and challenge yourself and you can really benefit from it. And then you can have a video game podcast and you can come and hang out with us.
Exactly.
So I hope that kind of answers your question. As you can. You want to finish the rest of the interview, Nick? I just let you take over.
I got this. Let's go. All right. This is the Unlockables podcast by Nikolai at Night.
Let's go. We'll just swap everybody around. Just everybody can do one episode running everybody else's show. That'd be hilarious.
That'd be fun. That'd actually be kind of cool.
Swap it around. So, no, thank you. I appreciate that. Not everybody asked for that. That's so nice. So I kind of want to ask this next question. I always try to get the scoop, I want to ask 13 episodes in, you already mentioned switching stuff up for possible seasons of the show. So I just kind of wanted to get the scoop on what the future trajectory of the show kind of looks like and kind of what your plans are for the future.
Yeah, I'm going to let Nick grab this one because he's got the master plan. He's got the blueprints in the back pocket.
It's like, you see, it turns on his camera, it's just wires all over the players. So like the master plan.
Exactly. That is the exactly. I'm Charlie Day from, what is it? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Always
That's
Sunny,
me.
Exactly.
Pepe Silva.
So in terms of the trajectory of where we want to take our content and where we want to go in the future, like I am very, very serious about the goal, the end goal, like the end game for the Avengers of Nikolai and Will, to be like, this is our full-time job. I want to be in a space where this is our full-time job, is content creation. We are interacting with everybody that we possibly can in the community. Maybe one day, I mean, like, we're talking about shooting for the stars. I mean, maybe one day you might see us at GDC, or, you know, go to like a PAX, or, you know, be on a panel. That's like, that would be a like life changing experience. That would be like the goal in terms of like being recognized and being kind of acknowledged in the community, of being that level of professionalism, and that kind of being in that world. I think it would be really, really awesome. And I want to bring, I don't want it to just be Will and I. Like, I would like to create a company. I would like to bring people from this space with us, because I feel like there are so many under-recognized, you know, unheard content creators that are just putting out banger after banger content. And I just think that like it's so important to, you know, throw the ladder down behind you if we were ever able to make it and bring people up and like uplift other people's voices. I think that would be kind of the trajectory that we would want to go. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of thought and intention and a little bit of luck. You know how the algorithm can be, you know, sometimes it shows favor and then sometimes it doesn't, despite how good your content may be. But that's kind of where I would like to see it. And, you know, and if none of that works out, if I am able to do this for years and years with William and just make friends along the way and just like meet people, like that's a realistic goal, is just to like go places throughout the country and like meet people that we've podcasted with and just have a good time with them, sit down, maybe do a like a remote show or something like that while we're all together. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, and just kind of like forming those bonds, forming those relationships. That's where we would like to do. I kind of, in the space that we are right now, we are pushing our content to be a little bit more live. I'm not an editor. I never claimed to be an editor. I'm not a fighter.
I'm not a fighter.
The thing is like, I feel like I am very much trying to partition my time out in an organized way, which is already tough to do because I'm not a very organized person as it stands. But, you know, with the show, we want to continue putting out regular content every week. I don't want to miss days. I don't want to miss recording episodes. Even if we have to do it on an off day or something like that, I want to continuously like give the people what they want. But also, like, I think that moving kind of in the direction of doing our shows as a live stream on Twitch, making sure that we can kind of utilize and leverage Twitch and YouTube to kind of boost our content and get more eyes and ears on it, I think is a good idea. And then ultimately, you know, trying to also get into the realm of like TikToks and Reels. I think, you know, somebody said this before, if you are a content creator and you're trying to do, you know, the work that we're doing, we all do long form content. Literally, if you have any piece of media that's going over 25 minutes, over 10 minutes for that matter, it's considered long form content this day and age. Because if you can't get what you want in under 30 seconds, the kids are going to swipe right or swipe up and go to the next one, because it's not entertaining, it's not capturing, it's not firing off the dopamine in their brain. But I think that like all of the good discussions, all of the people who I respect in the community, and like even the more professional folks, they all do long form content still. It's just they're able to partition it out into short form content. So it's figuring that out, using that methodology to kind of, you know, take all of our VODs, take all of our videos, and kind of just using bits and pieces of that, because we're funny. At the very least, we can just throw kooky clips of me being an absolute just gremlin and Will like chastising me for it, you know, out on Instagram, and we'll get likes, we'll get it. I just have to, you know, I have to take time and do it, you know?
Yeah, believe me, I'm not going to touch on that too much, because that's it triggering the inner marketer in me. So I'm not going to go off on like
you can do it though.
Philosophy on like people's watching habits and buying habits, all that stuff.
People want to hear it. Tell us all about it, Eric.
Completely different episode.
Tell us about your consultation rates.
$95 an hour.
Let's go. Here we go.
Consultation's the dream, baby.
Do you accept payment plans?
Yes, absolutely, in the form of Bitcoin.
There it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I think that anybody that sets out on a creative endeavor, while it may not be your primary goal, I think in the back of your mind, if you enjoy said creative endeavor, you do think, man, it really would be great to be able to do this for a living. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I think I think if you approach something with the sole express purpose of like the only thing you want to do is make money, I think you'll be more miserable. Certainly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. I think, but along the way, meeting the friends, making the content, and talking about something that you love. If you happen to do it to a level to where you can gain some level of success, that I think is the ultimate dream for everybody. Definitely. Unless you explicitly state you're doing this for just a sole like artistic creative output, then that's fine. But I have similar like lofty goals. If for some reason the show hits the algorithm, becomes successful, and IGN or somebody wants to like hire me, as much as I make fun of IGN, they probably wouldn't. But if somebody like wanted to hire me, I would have a hard time saying no to that, because I love being in the space and talking about games. So, but yeah, I think that's super cool. And if you do ever start a company, let me know. I'll come work for sure.
Hey, yes, absolutely. You're gonna be on the top of the list, Eric.
Absolutely. I'll do whatever you need me to do, man. If you want me to put together reels all day, I'll do that. If you want me to get coffee, I'll do that too.
Okay,
so
I got you.
Yeah.
Intern Eric.
I can't go back. The ground up. Did that before.
I've done it. We don't regress. We only push forward. Yeah.
Exactly. So last question I have on the content created side, and then we're going to jump into you guys specifically. In the handful 13 episodes that you've done here going on to the future, do you have any advice or any tips to somebody who maybe would stumble across this and be like, hey, I want to do this too? What are a handful of things that you would tell them to, that would maybe help them get started on their way?
Will, do you have thoughts on this? Do you want to take that first?
Oh, yeah. So my number one tip is find somebody who wants to do a lot of the heavy lifting and let them do it. It's worked out fantastic for me so far.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that.
Somebody who wants to go in there and make all the connections, and they want to look up and see how Zencaster and all these things work. Somebody who is hopefully very good with computers, and then will bug you forever about getting your own computer, even though you don't have time.
Yes.
But yeah, it's really, I mean, if you're trying to do it solo, which I think is, of course, obviously much harder just because you don't have someone to kind of fall back on. You don't have a lot of back and forth that you can do. I would say it's a little tough, but it's something to just really get out there and do a lot of research. There are, of course, our collective we talked about, but I think there are plenty of pockets of people that do something very similar. They have a nice little setup as well. So just really getting out there and meeting people and networking, not being afraid to go talk to people and ask questions. I think a lot of people that are in this creative area that are really lovers of what they do, they love answering questions in general and just getting as many people to be a part of it and getting their eyes on it. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out there and, kind of pick somebody's brain. Try to make sure that you're giving them some information or giving them some kind of something back that they can also take, or be like, ask for your time, give your time to them as far as any kind of help you can do. But just really getting out there, doing the work, getting as much information as possible is going to probably put you head and tails above anybody else who's just like, oh, it's a fun little pipe dream. Maybe I'll throw myself on Twitch on my Xbox Series X, or throw myself on Twitch on my PlayStation and see what happens. Really doing the footwork is what's going to get that traction for you.
Yeah, I completely agree and echo everything that Will has said. It's all about like thinking with intention and purposefulness about what you want to do before you start, and knowing what are the expectations, what are the industry standards to build an audience. Because like it's all about creating value, right? You want to create value for the people who are going to consume your content, and having a very focused and defined vision of what you want. Now I say focused and defined, and we're over here and we have topics about Xbox, Nintendo, literally everything. And I say that, but like that is all for a very specific reason. Like for the Friday Night Gamecast, we want to represent the people, and we want to speak for the people who do not have enough time for gaming. While you're at work, while you're, operating on a crane to lift the boxes from the ships onto the thing, throw it on your phone, put the earbuds in and have fun and listen to us. Or if, you're out there, in the heat, delivering mail or something like that. Like you are our audience, and we want to speak for you because we know there are so many cool gamers out there who don't get enough time to enjoy this wonderful hobby that we have. And I think that Will and I are fortunate enough to carve out time in our personal lives to, make time for that. And I think it is a luxury, and we want to speak on behalf of people. So we want to give them reviews. We want to talk about where the industry is heading. We want to update them on news, what's happening with Xbox and Sony and Nintendo. So I think that a lot of it is like we want to provide as much as possible. And in the end, we will focus our content specifically, whatever hits, we'll probably try to play off of that. But in terms of giving advice for new creators, I do think that it's all about, you got to save your money because you got to first make sure that your equipment is right. And then secondly, I think it's important to have someone that you can rely on to a certain degree. Unless you feel very strongly about being a solo podcaster and you feel like your public speaking skills are on par with a lot of the great solo podcasters like Phil from Deleted Saves or even Eric here. So if you feel like you can meet that level, that's totally fine. And I'm not gatekeeping this or anything. But I just think that I love the fact that I have Will to be in the room with me and talk about it, because I feel like we have a very similar mind share and a very similar lived experience that helps us kind of create this space where people can enjoy. I think I saw someone tweet on Twitter that one of their favorite genres of podcasting is friends talking. And it's so true.
That's a good one.
It's so true because it's what are you looking for from a podcast if it's not that that you can't get in a 30-second clip on TikTok or YouTube now? So that's where I'm at with it.
Right. There's something so infectious about just two people talking about something that they love that you want to be a part of it. But so, yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I think that's some great advice. And that's going to bring us to the close of the content creation section of the episode. So, guys, thank you so much for just giving me a little bit of background about the show and what you guys do. I really think that's great. And there's some awesome discussion. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to jump into everyone's favorite segment of the show where they get to talk about themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
All right, everybody, we are back and we're talking to Will and Nick. And guys, this is going to be the part of the show where it gets emotional. People are going to cry, we're going to hug, we're going to laugh. It's going to be fantastic. And maybe not, I don't know. Who knows what will happen. But so I like to ask everybody this question. Will and Nick, I kind of like to ask you guys just in general or in detail, as much as you want to say, where did your experience, your journey with gaming kind of begin? And you can take it in any order you want. So,
all right, you want to start that up, Nick?
Yeah, I can start that. So it's a little fuzzy, right? I think I was probably it all happened similarly at the same time, and it all started with Nintendo for me. My dad, he brought home probably when I was about 5 or 6 in that time frame. He brought home a Super Nintendo that's one of his coworkers gave him, and he had a bunch of games that I had no idea how to play. So I ended up playing a little bit of the Super Mario Brothers and a little bit of I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it might have been Rayman that was on there. I can't remember if that's right or not, but I genuinely that time in my life, it's so long ago that it's all kind of just a blur. For what that was, but really my actual journey with gaming started with both the Game Boy Color and the N64 at the same time. One it was like a Christmas and a birthday, and then on the Christmas I got the Game Boy Color from my dad with Pokemon Blue in it, and that kind of was the very, very beginning. And then I had one of my mom's family friends came over. We went over to his house and he was playing F-Zero on the N64, and I had never seen anything like that in my life. And I was just sat there mesmerized. I didn't say anything to anybody. I was just watching F-Zero. I was like, this is incredible. And then he was like, yeah, you want to see Zelda? And he popped in Ocarina of Time, and my mind just blew. I was like, what is going on? This is incredible. So that's kind of where it started from me. And then I consistently nagged my parents about getting me an N64 from that point forward until they finally caved. So yeah, that's where it started. What about you, Will?
Yeah, as far as mine starting, I was very similar to Nick, and I would say probably similar to anybody who's roughly in their 30s or so now, dating all of us folks. But starting off as a Nintendo baby, getting that SNES, and I had a couple of games that I just fell in love with. One was Super Punch-Out, and the other one was Aladdin on the SNES. And those are my two go-tos.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I have so many fond memories of playing Super Punch-Out, fighting. I think it was Joe Glass. Was that one for Super Punch-Out? I might be.
I think so. Yeah.
But getting past him, maybe getting past the second person. I think right when I got around to Hurricane, who was just like the Mike Tyson-esque fighter, I could never win. So you had to do the classic older brother, please beat this guy for me. So those are some of my favorite memories there, just because getting myself and my brother, who's a decent amount older than me, being able to go to him, be like, please beat this character. He's jumping off the ropes and he's like kicking me. This isn't boxing. So it was fun doing those. Like, what is happening here? I love that. I really love playing that Aladdin game, and being able to run around, jump. It was my first platforming kind of introduction. So that's kind of where the pain started, I guess I should say, is Aladdin. Especially doing like when you're running away from the big sand creature, you go into its mouth, you have to escape. Of course, you grab the stuff you're not supposed to grab, and then you have to leave on the carpet. And it's like the Battletoads-esque, you're painting to the side and you have to avoid all of these things hitting you.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever beat that level in my entire life. So it was just me playing that
Spoiler
forever.
alert for Aladdin.
I know if anyone ever played 96 Aladdin. Yeah. But it was fun. That's where my start was. So from there, I just kind of branched out more. Pretty much starting at that point, I knew I was going to love video games, and it hasn't stopped since. So I've had almost everything except for a Dreamcast. I didn't have an N64, but I had like PS1, had PS2. I played all of those until they broke. I played the Xbox 360 until it broke multiple times, because we know how the red rings are.
The red ring of death, the infamous one. Oh my
gosh. No, I've just been completely in the ecosystem. I even had a little bit of PC play with World of Warcraft, which took way too much of my life.
Yep.
I'm sure I'll eventually have that story of just me losing summers to World of Warcraft. But no, I've been locked in ever since those SNES days. I even... Right after the SNES, and I got pretty good at playing it, I think just at my house, and I never saw it before, there was an original NES, like the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh, wow.
So I tried playing a little bit of track and field, and by then I was like, this is horrible. This is the worst thing I've ever touched. My critique started very young. I'm like, this is the worst thing I'm going back to Super Punch-Out.
This looks way worse than this other thing that I have. What is going on here? Yeah, I remember that. No, that's kind of cool. Yeah, it mirrors a lot of my experiences too. I guess I didn't realize we were all kind of close in the same age. So that's super cool. Yeah, Nick, I gotta say, Ocarina of Time, what a early one to start off on. That's
right.
That's big.
It
that's
broke
huge.
me.
Holy cow!
It broke me for sure.
Holy cow! And then those. I remember I had the Aladdin game and I had the Lion King game too. That was a big one.
Yeah, I never had the Lion King game, but I've seen plenty of gameplay about it.
That was notorious for its difficulty. Like it's just so like no child should play this. This is just torture. So. That's awesome, guys. Thank you so much for sharing. I know it's not, I'm gonna flip flop the questions here. I know it's not easy to pick, but I always ask people, do you have like a favorite game or a set of games or a game that has like connected to you emotionally, like something you can just like hold up, like whenever the conversations come up and be like, yeah, like I love this more than like anything else.
Yeah, I got a handful of games, but I think if I'm gonna start off with like one especially that really locked me in. Started playing games when I was really young. I've been in them ever since, but it was always like, this is fun. This is fun. Something that I started playing, really getting involved in the community. And well, I felt like it was more than just a game, but it was really just, I want to go as far as to say it's a calling, but I'm like, okay, I'm completely in head over heels. It's going to be Halo 2. So getting the chance to play Halo 2, the clan system that they had in that game, for me was probably the greatest thing I've had in gaming as far as an overall community, because I would get linked up with a clan. We'd play some games together. We'd have a really good time. I would just throw my afternoons after school away on Halo 2 multiplayer, playing zombies, just hopping into lobbies on Blood Gulch and just talking to people, not even playing the game. It was kind of like my little AOL chat room in Halo. So being able to just really have those experiences when I was younger, that was effectively my community. I was a little nerdy, playing video games all the time. I didn't play too many sports. I ran track, but I didn't, do football or like baseball or anything. So having video games as my hobby that I got to share with people and just really build connections and communications with people all throughout the United States and sometimes over in like Australia, different parts of the world, is something that I'll definitely hold on to. I'm going to cherish a lot of those Halo 2 memories.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, this is like I feel like there's two that I really want to talk about. And I think the first one is it's easy. It's an easy thing to say, and it's an easy thing to say because it's like you think about your gaming experiences, and your experience it compresses over time, and you start to conflate games, and then like as we know, developers learn from the past and they make games better and better and better. And I think like one of the crowning achievements in gaming that we have gotten in recent history is God of War 2018. That game hit so many levels, and it touched me personally on just an emotional level, the relationship between Kratos and Atreus, and kind of just that genuine. It's like it is very frank, and it doesn't pull any punches in terms of telling the story of a man who's mourning and trying to raise a son at the same time. And it's one of those like experiences and one of those stories that it's like a tale as old as time, right?
Yeah.
But it's still very, very iconic. And not to mention, like from the pure gameplay perspective, holding the Leviathan axe and using that, and like finding out that he actually he held on to the Chaos Blades and brought it with him. I never was a fan of the original first three games. I had played them like with friends and stuff like that, but I was never as a kid motivated to like save up my money and then go out and buy a God of War game. First of all, because I didn't have any money, but then second of all, it's because it's like nothing really intrigued me back in the day of angry man, having sex with Greek ladies and then slaying Titans. Like that, just there was nothing about that really had a calling to me. I would watch like the story, like the lore content, like the clip compilations on YouTube and stuff, just to get a general understanding of it. But none of it really like called out to me. And maybe that was a wrong perspective to take on it. Maybe it was deeper than that.
Yeah, we'll add those to your list. It's fine. We'll put that on your backlog. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3.
Building, Eric.
Just grow it. That's building.
Fine. But so I started with that, and then of course, God of War 2018. It was something that was completely unexpected. I didn't read any reviews on it. I didn't know that it was in development. It wasn't until like I heard a couple of people in the community, like the whispers. It came out right after Breath of the Wild, and they were like, "This is even better than Breath of the Wild." And I was like, "That's kind of crazy," because Breath of the Wild was a good game.
Yeah.
So it was one of those that I hit there, and so that's 100% like one of my favorite modern games of all time is God of War 2018. But
Absolutely.
I think one of the classics that I think will always be ingrained in my memory as one of those like core childhood memories is sitting there in about 6th or 7th grade and playing for hours and hours on end Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2 completely changed my relationship, not only just with games, but with like JRPGs, and just seeing all of these characters that I knew. Even as a kid, I was never a fan of like Disney characters, Disney content. My family was actively like anti-corporation, anti-Walt Disney and stuff. They showed me all of the great classic movies from the 90s, but as a kid growing up and then finally seeing that in the characters, and like I learned about Final Fantasy, not from Final Fantasy, but from Kingdom Hearts. Right. And then it's Super Smash Bros, of course, for the Final Fantasy characters that were in there. But like kind of learning how like everything about Sora, and I understood none of the lore at the time when I first played it. Absolutely none of it. It wasn't until years later that I realized who Tetsuya Nomura was, and like what he meant to the gaming industry, and how much of an icon he was, and all of the work that he put into crafting this narrative of Kingdom Hearts. But just like I was even talking about Will the other day, like running around on the Destiny Islands in Kingdom Hearts 1. I did that with my friend. We would just run around that one level for hours and hours on end because it was just so aesthetic and pleasing and like soothing to the mind. And then Kyrie gets like ripped away from you in that first game. And then in the second game, you jump in and you're not even playing as Sora. And I was angry. I was angry for like 5 hours. I was like, who is this kid that I'm playing as? But then I finally realized, everything about Roxas.
Shout out to the boy
how
Roxas.
That fits and how nobody's interacted with Heartless. And it's just, it's such a cool game. And the story gets so anime at the end, kind of similar to what Will was talking about with Bayonetta, it gets nutty at the end, but I loved it. I was like, that was like one of the first games that I legitimately made my parents angry because I shirked all of my responsibilities just to sit there in my room and play Kingdom Hearts 2. I read like one of those EB game books from front to back.
Games.
Like I literally I sat there and I memorized the actual guidebook because I was trying to, get the maximum blade or something like that. And so, the ultimate weapon, that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
So that was, that's probably one of my favorite games of all time for sure.
I'm surprised that we haven't talked about that before with as much as I fling my love of Kingdom Hearts around Twitter. I didn't know that. That's amazing. And I'm trying to resist the urge very strongly to not go down that wormorehole right now. It's I gotta
sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I appreciate it. So have you side tangent, sorry. So have you played all the games in the series or I guess have you played all the games in the series?
I played one.
Okay.
I 100%ed 2. I tried to play Birth by Sleep, gave up. I tried 3, and then I gave up right after the Toy Story level.
That's fair. Fair. No, okay. That's
people have said that I need to finish 3. I've heard people talk about 3 to the extent of like you got to muscle through it, but in the end is when it really starts trying to like come together and forming in terms of the narrative. So
it does. I have interesting thoughts about 3 that I'll say. We won't go down that tangent pole, but I was in the same boat as you. That game was very formative to my younger life. And Will, too, man. Just hearing you talk about those Halo 2, I was a little bit later than you. I was in the Halo 3 lobbies.
Oh, gotcha.
Afterwards. That's when I started my online gaming. But that was an era where, that was your or just, we had MySpace, but social media wasn't a thing. And that was one of like the primary ways that you like met and talked to people was in pregame lobbies, in matches, where you could actually still do that before they... people got too mad. Now they can't. Now you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, everyone's in the party chat.
I miss the pregame lobbies, man. That seems like a relic of a time before where everyone was just in there chilling, and you had the one guy who was like had the music playing, and then the other guy the mic was like way too close to his mouth.
He was like, Call of Duty. I used never understand him.
Like Gears of War is probably still my favorite lobbies, like of all time, pregame lobbies.
Oh yeah,
people being there playing Gears of War. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna kill you. Have a good time. You get in, you hear your folks. But then, of course, when you actually die, you got to wait till the next round. So everyone's just in the death lobby, just talking trash back and forth.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like my favorite.
Yeah, and you don't really realize, I didn't realize that that had changed so drastically until like I, tried to play a little bit of Warzone when that was popular and stuff. And when they had the new Modern Warfare come out, I played a little bit with my friends and I was just like, they don't have this anymore. And I think same thing too when I played Halo Infinite, just the multiplayer, you're loaded into a match on your team and it's just like that camaraderie is like gone now, and it's kind of sad that I don't want to sound like old man, like, oh, back in my day, or like I miss the good old days.
Go for it.
It really was like the good old days, and that was just like a different era that I don't think we'll ever like get back to that ever again.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard making friends. Like, we know just in general it's hard making friends, but in video games it's gotten significantly harder. You used to be able to hop into a free for all match, or maybe like a Team Slayer match, and hear people talk and get to going on, and somebody's doing well. So you're like, oh man, I want to invite you to do doubles with me, or we're gonna play in a team. And now it's just you hang out in a party chat, you play your game, you get your dailies done, you sign off, you play your next game. It's definitely a sadder feeling than how it was back in the day.
Like you're just filling off checking boxes for like a checklist.
Got my dailies, got my dailies for it.
Yeah. No, I met there are a couple people that I still talk to today that I met through like Halo free for all lobbies and stuff. And man, I'm having like existential dread.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
The passage of time, like, but that was a different era, and I really do. There's just something missing nowadays. I don't play much multiplayer nowadays, just because I'm like past my prime. Like I'm tired of getting yelled at by people. Like I don't need that anymore. I'll just have my
to point B. I told
you. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like nobody's yelling at me when I'm a cat in Stray. So
True.
I'm perfectly fine with this. So, so thank you guys. I appreciate you sharing that. And the last question I like to ask people is just kind of what has gaming meant to you in your life in general?
So Nick.
Yeah, so gaming, I think so. As a younger man, I think that for the way that I like approach a lot of media, I'm a big fan of fiction, and I think that I think everybody has been through stuff in their life, but I used it a little bit when I was younger as kind of a coping mechanism. I definitely there was a lot of escapism involved in everything that I consumed even at an early age, whether it was the books that I read, the comics that I would get into, and the games that I played. I never was a super big fan of like grounded, like realer than life stuff. I think that's another reason why like Call of Duty, besides Modern Warfare 2, like never really like connected with me or resonated with me in any real way. Just because like I want to not be here. I want to be in this world that will take me out of what we know as reality and exist in. And I think that it's just something that has really been something that's followed me throughout my life. And then even more, as I get older, I realize that it's something that it's as a comfort food for me now. It's something that I can do to unwind, to relax, as long as I'm not playing something, completely ridiculous that's like, Dead Space or something like that, where your heart's thumping a mile a minute, or Bloodborne, something of that like, but something that really just you can take your time and just exist in that world and live there. And I think it's just one of the most beautiful forms of art that currently exist out there today. And yes, I think it's been proven at this point that, video games are in fact an art form. And I think that that's something that it reflects all of us, and it reflects a lot of the journey that we've been on as like a collective people over time. And just being a part of that is something that's really special to me. So that's where I stand with that.
Mm.
And for me, it was definitely similar as far as like the escapism. And when I was younger, having enough money, of course, to play games, which is definitely a privilege, but maybe not necessarily going to, European trips or going cross country, doing things like that. So a lot of my stuff I had to make use of at home. So if you don't want to go outside in the Florida heat and hit each other with sticks, then you're inside playing video games. So that's what I generally pick most of the time. But I would say, as I was going through school, and especially mentioning Halo 2 coming out, and the internet started to kind of open up and become its own thing, video games and anime to an extension as well became something for me to have a kind of community with and be able to reach out to people and have that in common to then start those conversations and start making new friends. So it's always been something to where if it's somebody in person or somebody online, I can find somebody that's like, oh man, you remember playing Halo 2 Zombies? Oh, I love Halo 2 Zombies. We automatically kind of have a connection and a bit to talk to there. Something with Gears is very similar. So just being able to use video games as a way to kind of get in and have conversations with people, getting to know and talk to people. It's always great just growing either in a community or, kind of hopping in one that may have already been started up, but feeling like you're at home just because you already have a lot of things to talk to. I feel like video games, for as much friction and kind of, back and forth hate conversations they can cause, a lot of the times we come together in big ways just to, I love some of the philanthropy that video games and people that play video games do. It's always great seeing those like 24-hour Twitch streams where they're donating money to great causes. Being able to have people come together. We mentioned intersectionality later, but being able to talk through certain things either through the medium of video games or having somebody, have their point of view being shown in a video game that folks then get to have constructive conversations on. And there's a lot of video games out there that are honestly just very soul touching, that it's not, like a shoot 'em up bang bang. It's not a platformer. I feel like one that I have not personally played because I don't know if I'm emotionally prepared, but that I've read a lot of and that looks great is that Dragon Cancer. I feel like that's a kind of experience that can really only be done through a video game, through having to kind of play it and feel that as you're going through it. So I love this medium as a whole. It's really given me a ton of experiences that I'm going to treasure, and hopefully it continues for, like another 30, 60 years. I'm really looking forward to seeing where video gaming evolves into.
I definitely agree. I can't wait to see what the future holds. Even though it looks more corporatized than ever, there are going to be beautiful pieces of work being made. I agree. And I think you guys nailed it. I think too that something that people tend to take for granted is how incredible it is that video games just exist by themselves. I mean, people just look at it as like, oh, I move a joystick and a guy moves on the screen. But it's when you stop and think about it, that it's billions of lines of code and polygons and all this stuff that comes together to make a living world that you can explore. Just puts it leagues and miles above any other kind of media thing that we have currently right now
Yeah.
until the metaverse gets here and you can go be in the Matrix or whatever you want to do. But
No, stay away from me.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna stay out here where it's safe, I think. But no, that was awesome, guys. And we've reached the end of the episode and we've hit all the questions. We're in a nice, concise time frame. I love it. It's great. But again, I just want to thank you guys so much, Nick and Will, for coming on, giving me a little bit of time out of the weekend to just come on and talk about games. Everything you guys said and the stories you told are exactly the reason I do this show. And it's exactly why I love talking to and meeting new people. So thank you guys so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for sure.
Thank you, Eric. We really, really, really appreciate it.
This is the time in the episode where I give you the floor to shill all of the things you'd like to shill. If you want to do your socials, the show, if you have like a side hustle, multi-level marketing scheme, whatever you want to shill, the floor is yours. So feel free to take it away.
All right, Nick, tell them about our Friday Night Gamecast NFT coming soon.
So the NFT is coming soon. It's not a monkey. It's a rhinoceros, and it's going to be fantastic. And it's not related to our content at all. It's different. It's different. It's got a gold chain around its neck. It's going to be great.
Can't wait for the Friday Night Gamecast digital currency goes along with it. So.
Ooh, the crypto. Yeah, the FNG coin.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
FNG
we got that
coin,
going right now. That's in production. But in all seriousness, please give us a follow on Twitter. We are Friday Night Gamers, and that's spelled NITEGAMRZ. I'm sure Eric is going to go ahead and put it in the description, but you can follow us over there. And then over on Twitch, we do have a nice Twitch channel that's under my umbrella right now, just the Nikolai at Night. And so definitely it's Nikolai at KNIGHT. If you give me a follow over there, I just made affiliate last night. So that was super fun.
Let's go.
Very
Congrats.
excited for that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So we got some art assets in the work. We're going to be some really cool emotes, some other images, maybe some cool overlays that's going to come in. So Will and I can look super professional on stream. So we just got to figure out all of the tax information for that. That's going to be super fun. But on the other side, we also have a Patreon. We just recently got our first Patreon member who we've become very close with. Her name's Lady Blake, and she actually subscribed to our highest tier. I mean, we were over the moon about that. We couldn't be more grateful. But of course, any support that you give us is welcome. Our base tier is just $1, and you get early access to episodes and can ask us anything once a month. So it's definitely a good look for any of the folks that want to get all of our unedited stuff, because I'm just downloading it and I'm throwing it in there. I'm not putting any work into that. So if you want to hear that raw footage, definitely jump in and find that out. So again, thank you so much, Eric. We really appreciate it.
Yep. And if you're looking for anything on Twitter, you just want to hit me up. If you want to tell me how to finally beat the last boxer in Super Punch Out, because I have yet to do so, you can find me on Twitter at King Zozotai. That's KingZosotai.
Well, when we follow back up in like 6 to 8 months, like if we're gonna need an update, and that has to be beaten.
We're gonna get him with Super NES so he can do it. We're gonna get him. We're gonna go find one for sure.
Absolutely, but like I said, Nick said, all that stuff will be linked in the description of the episode. I'll grab all that good stuff. It'll be super easy to find. I don't need to show my stuff; it's in the description too. You already know where to find me. I'm in a myriad of other Discords. I don't have my own Discord, but I am pretty much any Discord. If you listen to this show, you're probably in our podcasting community. I'm in literally every other one of those Discords, and just say hi to me. So
okay, perfect.
I don't need to have the stress of running my own Discord when I am already terrible at Discord to begin with. So.
That's awesome. We just had a conversation about that too. It's like, should we start one?
Just talking
it's
about
like,
it,
you're going to be doing a lot of work, bud. And I was like,
No, I mean, that's just me personally, Sabi.
I get you.
Again, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was awesome. And everything, I got to say, everything that you said about your show, about, your guys' relationship made it super comfortable. I just felt so at ease when you guys jumped in and interviewing you guys. It was fantastic. So I really do appreciate that. Now, I have a little bit of a slight problem because I realized I usually, for my outro of the show, I tell people to take care of themselves. That's how I outro the show. But I had the pleasure of recording an episode last week with Keith from the Main Quest podcast. And I realized listening to his old episodes is that's how he outros his show and has been outroing his show for many, many years now. And I was like, I subconsciously stole your outro. I apologize. So I have no freaking idea how to outro the show now because I didn't have anything in reserve. So I guess we're just going to go bye. See you next time.
All right.
See you next time.
Live long and prosper.
Yeah, right.
Get wrecked, losers.
Exactly. See you guys next time.